Today I want to talk about the little things. Hello there. I want you to take a look at that. Isn't that a gorgeous blue sky? I've been really scrubbing the contents of my pack, and I've realized that I don't necessarily have a ton of weight in small items, but I do have an awful lot of little things that have snuck their way into my pack. When I've watched a lot of other gear videos, especially some of the more ultralight ones, you don't see a lot of this stuff in people's packs, which kind of makes me wonder, is everybody leaving that stuff behind, or are they just not showing it? It's always the little things that get us in life, isn't it? I have gone through mine and I've pulled out some items that I know some of you might be curious about, so I'll take you through all the little things that are in my pack. And if you want to see my final gear list, I'm going to actually do a full reveal, I guess, of my final gear picks next week, right before I hit the trail. So watch for that. Let's get started and look at all these little teeny tiny things that are adding up in my pack. First off, since I'm videoing, I have some items that are specific to shooting video on the trail. I went ahead and made a little, they call it a dead cat to cover the mic. It's made out of fake fur. Figured I'll give it a try and see how it works to block the wind on the trail on the windy days. And I got a little set of lenses. This is a macro lens and a wide angle lens, so I can get some extra great shots of both the landscapes, the scenery, the views. I love looking at moss and lichen and flowers and all kinds of things on the trail, so these will be fun to have. And it's about a 3-ounce penalty in terms of weight, but I think they'll be worthwhile, and if I find that I'm not using them, I'll just go ahead and send them home. I also have my little stick pick, and I have the bracket, which I'm actually using right now on the phone that goes with it. It also attaches to my tripod, and this helps me take wide shots without having to do the selfie thing. And then the last thing I have in the electronics, in the video bag, is my Bluetooth headset that I talked about before from Anchor. Oh, and one more thing is my little remote. This is just a handy thing. It weighs about an ounce, and it's nice to have, particularly if you're shooting from a little bit of a distance. So those are all kind of video items that I will keep together. I do have a couple more electronics items. My Anchor charger is 10,000 milliamps per hour, if I'm saying that right, and it weighs about 6 ounces. So it's a little heavy, but it should get me through several recharges on my phone. And I have a little iClever charging block that's got 2 ports in it. It says it's Smart ID, and I think it does fast charging, but I haven't used it enough to know for sure. And then of course the cords, and I realized that some of these cords are redundant, so I've only got one cord for the charger and the headphones, and then another cord for the phone. And these all go together in my electronics baggie. I did think about getting a Dyneema bag or a Cuban fiber bag to put these in, but it just seemed like a baggie was fine, cheap, easy, replaceable. So this is the route that I'm going. Now, toiletries. That's a tricky one. People go without a lot of things, but I've realized that there are some things where I just rather have a little bit more comfort. So I'm taking some items that maybe you wouldn't want to take, but they're things that I think will be good for me. So we'll start with a toothbrush. I have a little folding toothbrush. I did not cut the handle off. I like that this one folds up into its case. It's from Target. You can find them in other places. Very lightweight. Toothpaste. I did see somebody online was talking about that you could actually take toothpaste and dehydrate it into little toothpaste tabs or buttons, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take these little travel packs and use those. And then also some Aquaphor, which will be great for all kinds of things from dry lips, burns, dry skin, all of that kind of stuff. So I really like Aquaphor because it's multi-purpose, so that's in my kit as well. And I also carry, and it's just a little baggie that's got some Q-tips in it, a razor, and then a little shaver, little just kind of hygiene items that don't even weigh an ounce altogether. Along with that, I have a few items that I actually going to carry with my cook set. And these are the Dr. Bronner soap that I've shown before. It's put into a smaller container. And I also have a small little bit of Pine Sol, which is good for disinfecting, particularly if there are a lot of people getting sick around the shelter. And I actually was reading some research that says it deters bears. So I don't know, I'm not going to be putting this around my tent every night, but interesting to know. And it's also natural, so that's great. And then I have this little bottle, has a tiny little bit of bleach in it. If all else fails and I'm concerned about water quality or need to sanitize something, then I can just use this little bit of bleach, and it's not heavy at all to carry. So these are all sealed up nice in a Ziploc, and this will go with my cook kit, and it'll get hung up with my bear bag at night. Now, as far as first aid, I've actually divided up my first aid into a couple of different bags. I have one that I call the stinky bag, and this one includes my outdoor stuff. So I've got sunscreen, Ivy Rest, and Ivy X, which is my poison ivy kit. That's both to prevent poison ivy and also to treat it, because I'm very allergic. If I get poison ivy, it could definitely take me off the trail. So I'm carrying both of those, even though they're a little bit heavier. I've also got a little bit of Tiger Balm and a tiny little bit of anti-chafe, which thankfully so far I haven't had a lot of problem with that, but I know as it gets hotter, I may want to have that. So I'm going to bring a little bit of that. Some Neosporin, which I thought about putting in a smaller container, but I think just for keeping it sterile, if I need to use it on any sorts of injuries, I'd rather have it in this little tube. And some bug spray. So that's it. All of this stuff can be kind of stinky, so it goes into what I have is a lock sack bag. This is one of those odor-proof bags. I also carry my food in a larger one, but I use this one to put all of my kind of stinky toiletries, first aid stuff in there, and I hang it up at night with my bear bag. Then I have the first aid items that don't stink. So these are all my pills all together in one bag, and this also includes some Aquamira tabs, which are good to have just in case you need to purify the water. I do use a Sawyer filter, but these are kind of a backup. A little bit of anti-diarrheal tabs coupled with just a few little Pepto pills. I have a tiny little bit of Benadryl for allergies, and particularly if like I said, if I get poison ivy, I definitely will be taking a couple of these and heading to town to get treatment. I carry simethicone tablets. These are anti-gas. I also have some Tums for upset tummies. A couple of electrolyte tabs, like these are like the Nun tablets that can go in the water. I don't use them very often, but if I am getting dehydrated, then I want to have just a couple on hand. Tiny little bit of ibuprofen as well. Again, this is not something I take a lot of. I tend to be one of those people that I don't take pills unless I absolutely have to. This is called Midnight, and it's great. It's got melatonin in it, but it's the kind of thing which you could take at, say, 3 o'clock in the morning and still wake up the next day. It's not going to give you a hangover, so I like this. But this would stay in my tent at night, where everything else would actually go in the bear bag. The last thing I carry is an antihistamine, nasal decongestant, that sort of thing. So if I'm having a lot of allergies, or if I get a cold, I'll have a few of these. So that's pretty much it for medications. I don't need a lot, but I've got a good variety, I think, to cover most of the things that I might encounter. Like I said, it doesn't weigh a whole lot because I've got very small amounts. Some other things that fall into the doesn't stink category: lamb's wool for blisters. And I actually had to use this a few weeks ago when we did kneel to Unicoi, and it was real rainy, and I was trying out some new shoes that you might have seen them in an older video, the Merrill Moab. They just did not work. They literally tore up my feet, and I had to stop halfway and put some of this around my big toes because I had so much trouble. What I didn't realize is that my pinky toes were also getting terrible blisters, and they were ugly. This was very helpful. It kind of molds to your foot and takes some of the pressure off if you're getting some hot spots. Going back to the other shoes, but still carrying this because I know when I'm hiking 15 or 20 miles a day, I may be more into blister territory and want this. And it's super light. I don't know, 5 or 6 grams for this package. Then I also carry a few more first aid items. This little bag has just got some bandages, and I have a few larger bandages in case, just in case. Some small ones. This one is kind of like it's got the tabs on it, so if you need to close a wound. And I actually carry super glue, little tiny little thing of super glue, which is also good for closing up cuts. But it's a little tiny thing that's about 1/2 inch and good for just 1 or 2 uses, great for first aid. A little cleansing wipe if necessary. Dental floss, which could actually be used to stitch a wound if you really needed to, but this is my use it for thread, that sort of thing, tying things off. Just a tiny little bit of moleskin. Some KT tape for, well, whatever you might need to tape, strains and that sort of thing. A small needle, and I just have it wrapped in paper so it doesn't poke me. And then after my wilderness first aid class, I decided to go ahead and add some rubber gloves. That was one of the things that they taught us, was if you're treating somebody else, to take care of yourself first. But if somebody's injured, bleeding, or they have a lot of bodily fluids for whatever reason, it would be good to have these, and they don't weigh a lot. So I went ahead and put them in my kit. And I've also got just a little safety pin down here. You never know when that might come in handy. So that's more of my first aid items, and that's pretty much it, other than what I call my little tent jar. And this jar comes in handy for things like washing out socks and undies. In a really bad night, if I just can't get out of the tent, I could probably use it as a pee jar. But anyway, I carry it because it's got lots of different uses. So I just grab this and put it in my tent at night when I'm setting up. It includes my comb, some hair ties. These things tend to break, so nice to have a few extras. This little ball, which is hollow, and I use it just to roll my feet out at night if I've got some kinks in my feet. If it's rainy, if I'm bored, I got some tiny little playing cards. I found these on Amazon. I could play solitaire, I could play with other hikers who have small hands. And, so anyway, not nearly the weight of carrying a whole pack of cards, but still something to have for those days when you might be a little bit bored. My melatonin, just 3 or 4 of these. Tiny little emery board to get off the rough edges. If you break a nail, you don't want to snag and ruin your gear on a torn up nail, so I carry this. And then this little tiny bag has got my earplugs in it, and also I try to keep it clean, a little rag for cleaning my glasses. And then I also have in here miniature tweezers, which are great, if you have ticks and you need to remove ticks, these would come in handy. And then nail clippers also. Like to keep the toenails particularly clipped nice and short. And just put all this in my tent because it's the kind of thing that I may use. All of this stuff are things that I may use when I get ready to retire and I just need a little downtime. I might take care of some personal hygiene things in the morning, comb the hair, put it up, that sort of thing. My journal, and I've got a Sharpie for marking things, and also a pen and a mirror. And you can see from the mirror, I tried to cut it down. I thought maybe I could break it and have less to carry, but I'm not sure what it's made out of, Lexan or something, and it's just not going anywhere. So I'm taking the whole mirror. And the journal I wrestled with because at first I was going to get a waterproof journal, the stone paper, that's very heavy, kind of like the Write in the Rain, if you've heard of those. So I've been looking for a small journal this size. Found some from Midori that are more long format and skinny, but for me, the way I write, that wasn't as comfortable. So I found these on Amazon, a 6-pack. For, I don't know, $12 or $14. It's got the little dots in there so you can write, you can draw, you can do all kinds of things. They weigh just under 3 ounces a piece, and there are 15 individual sheets, but the way it's folded, that gives you 60 pages. So that's enough that I think I can get through 30 to 45 days on the trail, depending on how much I write. Looking forward to these, and I think I might even, if I'm feeling really creative, do some kind of a drawing or something on the front while I'm on the trail. Those are most of the little things I have. Now, what I didn't show you is my tripod. I'm using it right now for my phone and the phone case. This kind of stuff could get, I think, out of hand and end up being a lot of weight if you're not careful. But thankfully, because I've been able to put things into smaller containers, I feel like I'm more comfortable carrying a variety of items. Some of the areas where I think I could still shave weight, and I'm at about 18.5 pounds base weight right now. I could possibly cut a little bit of my clothes, but I know it may be pretty cold getting into the Smokies, so I don't want to do that till after I'm through the Smokies. The safety items that I showed you and all of my other just sort of miscellaneous items in that category is a little over a pound. My hydration system is 3/4 of a pound. So overall, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I had hoped I'd be down to 15 or 17 pounds, but then I really realized that I'd rather have a few of these comfort items, a few of these little things that will make me happier along the trail. So all in all, I'm feeling pretty good about it, and looking forward to showing you the rest of my gear next week when I show you my final gear picks. But again, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, I appreciate your comments and questions down below, so keep those coming, and I'll see you next week. Happy hiking.